Times Square in New York City is shown at night. The tall skyscrapers are lit up. Electronic billboards show ads for TV shows, Broadway plays, products, and restaurants. The streets are crowded with people and traffic. Figure 14. One, advertising is a form of promotion and can be presented in many channels. One example is the billboards in Times Square in New York City. Credit. Modification of work, Times Square, NYC by M.K. Feeney/Flickr, CC by 20 Chapter Outline 14. 1. Advertising and the promotion mix 14. 2. Major decisions in developing an advertising plan 14. 3. The use of metrics to measure advertising campaign effectiveness 14. 4. Public relations and its role in the promotion mix 14. 5. The advantages and disadvantages of public relations 14. 6. Ethical concerns in advertising and public relations. Leo Burnett was a journalist for the Peoria Times in Illinois when he decided to start his own advertising firm with the same name in 1935. 1. His strategies were fairly simple: to utilize models who looked like ordinary people instead of Hollywood stars. His motto, "What helps people, helps business." That strategy paid off big for Philip Morris with the introduction of the iconic, albeit now considered unethical, Marlboro Man. In 1952, the ageless Tony the Tiger cartoon icon for Kellogg's Frosted Flakes was also born from the Leo Burnett ad agency. Other notable companies that have utilized the Leo Burnett ad agency include Procter & Gamble, McDonald's, and Fiat, to name just a few. Today, the company has offices around the globe, and it still prides itself on aligning brands with human values. According to the company, Leo Burnett was built on a simple belief: that the most creative, most effective, and most powerful work has people at its core, their needs, wants, dreams, and hopes. It's a belief that can be seen in action in everything we make. 2. In July of 2021, Leo Burnett London released a new advertisement for McDonald's, Fancy a McDonald's, that showcases one of life's simpler pleasures: laughter. It featured a television advertisement with no dialogue, just some friends and family enjoying time together. 3. The advertisements, a big success, ultimately highlight Leo Burnett's ability to reach a multitude of audiences across cultures and generations. 4. Link to learning Leo Burnett. There is a lot to learn from the Leo Burnett Advertising Agency. Check out the agency's website to see the various kinds of campaigns the company has worked on. Be sure to check out the news section to read about several campaigns. Interested in the campaigns mentioned in this section? Check out these websites. Fancy a McDonald's laughter commercial, Kellogg's discussion about the Tony the Tiger campaign, Food Nonfiction's History of Tony, the Tiger video on the history of Tony, the Tiger learning outcomes. By the end of this section, you will be able to 1. Define advertising and provide examples. 2. Discuss the importance of advertising in the promotion mix. Advertising and its importance in the promotion mix. Marketers utilize a variety of ways or media channels to promote the organization's offerings. Regardless of the media channel used, marketers must be consistent in the communication they send to customers. Advertising is paid communication messages that identify a brand or organization and is intended to reach a large number of recipients. The most traditional media that are used for advertising include newspapers, magazines, television, radio, internet, and billboards. See Figure 14. 2. The increase in the availability and use of the internet and other technology has also led organizations to advertise on mobile phones, through email, on social media, and on other digital devices. 2 billboards are shown against the backdrop of a blue sky. Both billboards are large, wide rectangles. Neither billboard has an ad on it. Figure 14. 2 billboards are one channel for advertising. Credit. March 0415 by Lord Jim/Flickr. CC by 20. Like every promotion mix element and media channel, advertising has its own advantages and disadvantages. Advertising is fairly expensive, so the cost to the organization is high. However, advertising reaches a large audience with one ad, so the cost per exposure is relatively low. For example, just one 30-second commercial during the 2021 Super Bowl cost companies around $6 million. $5, but with 96.4 million viewers, the cost per exposure. assuming every viewer sees the commercial, is only around 6 cents per viewer. Because advertising is non-personal and reaches a large audience, the message can get distorted from the marketer's intention to that of the audience. For this reason, it is difficult to quickly change the message if it is misunderstood, and it also difficult to capture how well the message was received. Link to learning cost of Super Bowl commercials. Over time, Super Bowl ads have a large following, and the expense has increased each year. Check out this article from the Sporting News that compares the cost of commercials from 1967 to 2022. Product advertisements. Product advertisements are those that promote a specific product within the organization's product mix. These advertisements focus on a singular product and intend to bring brand awareness to a product or to differentiate the brand from competitors. In 2013, PepsiCo created a print ad showing a can of Pepsi wearing a Coca-Cola cape, wishing the audience a happy Halloween. In 2020, Coca-Cola used the same advertisement to counteract the original ad by stating, "Everyone wants to be a hero." Both are examples of product advertisements, cheekily comparing two fiercely competing brands. 6. Link to learning Pepsi versus Coke brands roasting one another through advertisements is not something that PepsiCo invented. It's been done many times. To see the Pepsi versus Coke campaigns, as well as other big brands roasting their competitors, check out this Bulldog article. Institutional advertisements, unlike product advertisements that focus on one product or brand in an organization's product mix, institutional advertisements focus on the organization. This differs also from public relations, discussed next, in that it is a paid form of communication. The goal of institutional advertising is to create a positive image or support for the entire organization. Institutional ads also have the advantage of creating a positive impact by attracting potential candidates and increasing employee engagement within the organization. At the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, many companies stepped up to help mitigate the effects the pandemic had on the country. Early on, Anheuser-Busch switched some of its operations from distilling beer to making hand sanitizer. In April 2020, just 1 month after the pandemic hit the United States, the company had already delivered over 500,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. 7. The company utilized both print and television advertisements to communicate its philanthropic efforts to consumers. It wasn't trying to sell the public a Budweiser, but rather was using the ads to help bolster its image to consumers. Importance of advertising. While there has been a major increase in commercial-free television and the ability to skip ads in multiple media platforms, advertising still remains an important part of the promotion mix. Advertising assists in consumer awareness, making sure the audience is aware of a product or service and its benefits. Advertising also helps to retain customers through reminders and can show audiences that a business aligns with their values. However, with the increase in society's reluctance to believe what they see in advertisements, it is more important than ever that marketers ensure they are sending the right message at the right time. Knowledge check. It's time to check your knowledge on the concepts presented in this section. Refer to the answer key at the end of the book for feedback. 1. Promoting a product in a television commercial aligns with which of the promotion mix elements? Advertising, public affairs, social media, institutional advertising. 2. You see a television advertisement from Ford thanking frontline heroes during the pandemic. Which term best describes this advertisement? Product advertising, public relations, institutional advertising, press relations. 3. As a new marketer in a firm, you are asked to provide the advantages of using advertising in an upcoming promotion strategy. Which of the following would be included in your list of advantages? Advertising's per exposure cost is an advantage. Advertising is non-paid, so it does not cost the company. Advertising's message is easy to change. Advertising's effectiveness is easy to capture early. 4. Brina sees an advertisement that compares Colgate toothpaste with that of Crest. She decides to change her toothpaste brand based on this new information. Which term best describes what Brina was exposed to? Institutional advertisement, public relations, social media, product advertisement. 5. Which of the following is a false statement about advertising? It is still as important to the promotion mix as other elements. It is the least costly of all promotion mix elements. It should always be a well-thought-out strategy. It assists in consumer awareness and brand loyalty. Learning outcomes by the end of this section, you will be able to 1. List the steps involved in developing an advertising plan. 2. Describe the details involved in each step of advertising development. 3. Discuss methods for assessing and evaluating the advertising program. Major advertising decisions in an advertising plan, as with any successful plan, certain decisions need to be made while creating an advertising plan. Advertising is expensive and should have specific objectives with clear communication to the audience to ensure the right message is being sent at the right time with the biggest impact. These steps include choosing the objective, choosing a push or pull strategy, establishing a budget, developing the strategy, executing the program, and assessing the impact. See Figure 14. 3. The 6 decisions that need to be made as part of advertising planning are shown in a continuous circle. Starting at the top and going clockwise, the decisions are objectives, push or pull strategy, budget, strategy, execution, and assessment. Figure 14. 3 decisions in an advertising plan. Attribution. Copyright Rice University, OpenStax, under CC by 40 license. Establishing advertising objectives. The aim of advertising is to communicate something to an audience. The objectives of such communication can vary depending on the goals of the advertisement. Some common objectives of advertising include information, persuasion, comparisons, and reminders. Let's explore each of these types of advertising objectives in more detail. Informative advertising. Informative advertising is most often used as a new product is being introduced in the market. The goal of informative advertising is to bring awareness to a product through educational communication to increase demand for the product. A new product can only be successful if people know it exists and why. Specific messages of informative advertising will vary depending on the product or service. A simple teaser of a new product is effective for some products, while for others, more detailed information may be necessary so the audience understands the product. For example, when the newest iPhone is about to be launched, Apple often uses a short and simple advertisement with only a photo of the phone and its available date. For an existing brand such as Apple, this works well because consumers are already familiar with the product's brand. Conversely, when a brand new product is brought to market that consumers may not be aware of, more information may be necessary in the message. Persuasive advertising. The goal of persuasive advertising is to convince consumers to purchase by highlighting the benefits of a product or service being advertised. Whereas informative advertising often uses facts and figures to introduce a product, persuasive advertising often focuses more on the emotions of the audience. For example, when an automobile company advertises a brand of its SUV, it might include a scene with a family and focus on the safety of the vehicle. See Figure 14. 4. This is an attempt to showcase the benefits of the automobile to the consumer on an emotional level. 3 Audi SUVs are parked next to each other near a house. Behind them are bushes and desert land. Figure 14. 4 car advertisements are a form of persuasion intended to appeal to consumers' emotions by highlighting the product or service benefits to the consumer. Credit. Audi Q5Vs, BMW X3Vs, Land Rover Freelander 2, comparison, NRMA new cars. By the NRMA/Flickr, CC by 2. 0 Comparative advertising. Comparative advertising's aim is to showcase the benefits and values of one product over its competitors. Wendy's, a fast food burger establishment known for its fresh, never frozen beef, has long used comparative advertising to showcase its freshness over competitors, particularly McDonald's, its biggest competitor. The marketing team at Wendy's often uses humorous advertisements to compare its food with competitors, and in recent years, the company has become known for its humorous social media posts. Reminder advertising. Reminder advertising is aimed at bringing a product back into the forefront of the consumer's mind. Typically, reminder advertising is used during the maturation stage of the product life cycle. For any well-established brand, most advertisements are considered reminder advertisements, unless the brand is introducing a new product or a change to an existing product. McDonald's 2021 advertisements that remind consumers to get their friends' fries if they say they don't want them is an example of reminder advertising, as the company is not introducing a new product, but rather reminding audiences that McDonald's is there as a choice in fast food. 8. Push strategy versus pull strategy. After choosing an objective for the advertising plan, marketers must determine whether a push or pull strategy will be most effective. A push strategy is aimed at pushing the brand in front of an audience. Often a push strategy will utilize multiple forms of advertising media so that the product or service is in front of the consumer at multiple times. Common push strategies involve sending postcards or emails and placing ads in print and television media. Conversely, a pull strategy is intended to bring audiences to the product. For example, if a company is launching a new game app, the company may choose to advertise in another game app. The interested consumer would then click on the advertisement and be pulled into the new product, app. Link to Learning GameStop. GameStop is a great example of a company with push and pull strategies. Check out its website for examples. Establishing the advertising budget. The next step in the advertising decision process is establishing an advertising budget. There are several approaches to this decision, but it is important to keep in mind that the advertising budget is just one component of the overall promotion budget. Table 14. 1 outlines the most common approaches to budgeting. Budget approach definition. Percent of sales budgets are set as a percentage of prior year's sales or predicted future sales. All you can afford budgets are set after all other necessary expenditures have been covered in the organizational budget. Return on investment, ROI, budgets are set based on the expected return, in dollars, an advertising campaign will produce. Competitive parity budgets are set based on predications of what competitors will spend. Objective and task budgets are set based on the objectives set for activities planned. Table 14. 1 advertising plan. Budget companies often use previous year or period data to set objectives for the current or future years. Marketing budgets can use the same approach. The percentage of sales approach utilizes prior year sales or predicted year sales and sets a percentage of those sales aside for advertising. This is a simple way to budget, particularly in stable markets. However, it is somewhat backward of what you have learned thus far in marketing. Instead of advertising creating sales, it assumes sales creates advertisements. Some companies choose to budget their advertising dollars after all other organizational budgeting is complete. The all-you-can-afford approach to budgeting ensures everything else in the organization is budgeted for and then sets aside the remaining funds for advertising. This is a practical and simple approach, but it can often lead to budgets that have less money than desired for much-needed advertising. Unlike other approaches to budgeting, the return on investment, ROI, approach views advertising as an investment rather than a cost. The idea behind the return on investment, ROI, approach is that for every dollar spent on advertising, a return of that dollar, plus some, is expected. The disadvantage to this approach is the difficulty in determining exactly which ad, media, or campaign is specifically contributing to the return. The competitive parity approach relies on setting budgets based on the expected budgets of competitors. This approach works well in stable markets where competition is well established. However, with this approach, marketers are setting rather important budgetary decisions based on competition and can lose sight of internal objectives. The final common approach to budgeting for advertising is the objective and task approach. The objective and task approach is budgeting based on the objectives set previously for the advertising plan. This approach does not consider previous sales or expected competitor budgets. However, marketers must be aware that this approach can lead to overspending when other factors are not considered. Developing the advertising strategy after marketers and other company executives set a budget for the advertising plan, it is time to work toward the advertising strategy. In this stage of planning, marketers will create the message and choose the appropriate media. Creating the advertising message can be a difficult task for marketers, particularly in the current climate of media. The advertising message is the visual or auditory information that is used in an advertisement to inform or persuade the audience regarding the product, service, or organization. Messages are usually broken down into 5 areas: the headline, subheading, copy, images, and call to action. 9C Table 14. 2. Each area must be consistent with one another and with the overall strategy of the advertising plan and the company's values and mission. Message component purpose example headline grabs the attention of the target audience, buy one get one free. BOGO subheading clarifies the headline or provides attention details: buy a couch, get a matching recliner free copy, answers any immediate questions of the audience, add a stylish yet comfortable look to your living room with our new rich brown couch and recliner in soft chenille fabric. Built to last for generations image. S. Visuals to enhance the message and image of a family sitting on a new couch and recliner watching television. Call to action tells the audience what they need to do now that they have seen the advertisement. Come to our showroom today to select your couch. Table 14. 2. Advertising message components link to learning advertising messages. There are numerous examples of the message components listed in Table 14. 2. Check out these articles discussing ways each of these can be successful. Live About article. Buy one get one free BOGO sales events Equid article. 5 effective buy one get one free promotions for an online store Drip article. Limited time offers. 10 creative ways to drive more online sales HubSpot article. 50 call to action examples you can't help but click. Selecting advertising media. Once the message is determined, the marketer will select which advertising media is appropriate for the message. The selection of advertising media will often be determined based on reach, frequency, impact, and engagement that the marketer is hoping for. Reach refers to the estimated number of potential customers that can be reached with an advertising campaign. Frequency refers to how many times someone is exposed to an advertisement in a given time period, or how many times an advertisement is shown in a time period. Impact refers to how quickly members of the audience receive an advertising message. The form of media that is used will help to determine the impact of the message. For example, a direct mailing may take longer to be received by the audience than a Facebook advertisement. Finally, engagement refers to any interaction with advertising content. This becomes particularly important in digital marketing. The number of times members of an audience click on an internet ad would measure the engagement of that particular advertisement. Clearly, the more engagement, the more likely a consumer is to make a purchase. Keep in mind that engagement can also be negative, such as a dislike or negative comment on a social media advertisement. There are trade-offs between reach and frequency. It seems obvious that marketers would want an advertising campaign to reach the greatest number of people possible with one advertisement. But is one exposure enough to call a person to purchase the product? Often, potential consumers need to be exposed to a message more than once before they will make a purchase. Therefore, the marketer must decide whether reaching the most people or reaching the same people the most is more beneficial to the advertising strategy. 2 arms are shown holding a business newspaper. Figure 14. 5 newspapers are a form of print media advertisement. Credit: Business Newspaper by BistPico, com/Flickr, CC by 2, different media alternatives. As you learned earlier in this chapter, there are different forms of advertising media that marketers will choose from. Most marketing strategies do not focus on only one media, but rather on a mix of media that are most likely to reach the target audience. Print media includes magazines, newspapers, brochures, and flyers. See Figure 14. 5. Broadcast media includes radio and television. Outdoor advertising is a very economical option because it has such a large reach. Banners, flags, wraps, events, billboards, and even automobiles are types of outdoor advertising. Most companies have shifted their budgets away from some of these more traditional media and moved to digital media. Digital media is any advertising done via the internet, mobile phones, and other devices other than television and radio, Kindles, iPads, etc. Link to learning car and social media advertising. Have you ever seen a car drive by advertising a company or service? There are companies that will pay you to advertise on your car. Read more about 3 companies that will pay you to put their advertisement on your car. Check out these thought leader articles on social media marketing trends in 2022 from Digital Agency Network, and learn about the value and impact of social listening here. Each media has its own advantages and disadvantages and best uses. When marketers decide on media to be used, they must consider the product or service, the target market, and any budgetary constraints. For example, a product that is primarily targeted towards senior citizens would be best advertised through traditional media, while millennials are more likely to see advertisements in digital form. Executing the advertising program at this stage in the advertising plan, marketers are almost ready to release their advertisements to the chosen media. However, before doing so, most marketers will choose to test their advertising to a small group of the target audience to ensure all the messaging is clear and concise. Pretesting the advertising involves research that predicts the performance of an advertisement before it airs. The three most common types of pretesting are portfolio tests, jury tests, and theater tests. Portfolio tests consist of respondents browsing through various versions of an advertisement and then being asked to recall certain details from each. Respondents are chosen from the target audience, and those advertisements most recalled by participants are chosen to air for the entire target audience. Similarly, jury tests are a form of pretesting in which the respondents discuss the advertisements most likely to induce a purchase. Theater tests utilize a sample of the target audience as well. In this form of pretesting, the audience is shown advertisements, usually television ads, in the context that they would be shown to the entire target market. Assessing and evaluating the advertising program after pretests are completed, it is time for the marketers to make any necessary changes and disseminate the ads to the target audiences through the chosen media. But the advertising planning does not end there. Once advertisement messages have been out, marketers then must assess and evaluate the programs. Even the best planned and best tested programs can still be failures. Post-testing, the advertising post-testing, simply refers to testing the effectiveness of a campaign after it has launched. Marketers have several ways in which they can post-test the advertising campaign. Aided recall is a type of advertising post-test that uses cues to assist a sample audience in recalling brands and products in an advertisement. The opposite of aided recall, unaided recall, does not use any cues or prompts to test the recollection of the advertisement message. The respondent is typically asked open-ended questions to gauge information retained from the advertising message. Attitude tests investigate the attitudes of a sample target audience toward a product or service. Often, the attitude test will ask the respondent to compare the advertised product with a competing product. An inquiry test is a type of advertising post-test that runs two or more similar ads on a limited scale and determines which of the ads are most recalled by and effective for respondents. Another form of advertising post-test is the sales test. The sales test determines how many sales will be made based on a test market. This test can be done as either a pretest or a post-test. As a pretest, it is used as an estimate or prediction of future sales that the advertisement will attract. As a post-test, it measures the actual sales that can be linked to the advertisement. Knowledge check. It's time to check your knowledge on the concepts presented in this section. Refer to the answer key at the end of the book for feedback. One Dave is a marketer looking to see how successful his new marketing campaign was. Which of the following would you suggest to Dave? Post-test, pretest, jury test, portfolio test 2. As a marketer in charge of a new advertising campaign, what is the first step you will utilize in planning? Determine a budget, decide on a push or pull strategy, state the objectives, execute the plan 3. If the target market for a product or service is millennials, which advertising media would you most likely choose? Digital media, outdoor advertising, newspapers, billboards 4. Jamal is trying to explain the difference between reach and frequency to his classmates. Which of the following best describes reach? Interactions with an advertisement, estimated number of times. A potential customer will see an advertisement, how quickly the audience will be reached with an advertisement, estimated number of potential customers, to see an advertisement 5. Which of the following is the final step in the advertising plan? Assessment strategy, budgeting, execution. Learning outcomes by the end of this section, you will be able to 1. List the key performance indicators, KPIs, for measuring the effectiveness of an advertising campaign. 2. Describe how each KPI is measured. Key metrics in measuring success. The most well-planned advertising campaigns are only effective if they bring about some result. Marketers use performance metrics to determine the effectiveness of a campaign. Key performance indicators, KPIs, are indicators that measure how an advertising campaign is achieving certain goals or objectives. There are several KPIs marketers choose to measure to determine the impact of an advertising campaign. These metrics help marketers make changes to campaigns in order to meet the goals and objectives set forth. Brand recognition refers to the ability of a campaign audience to recognize and identify a specific brand. It measures the extent to which an audience can identify a brand with only a logo or photo. Depending on the advertising media used, marketers will choose the most appropriate metric to measure brand recognition. There are also numerous brand tracking software programs that will gather this data for marketers. Brand awareness. While brand recognition and brand awareness sound very similar, there is a distinct difference. Brand awareness takes recognition a step further to determine if audiences can recall information about the brand. Awareness often seeks to determine the emotions and impressions that a campaign has raised with specific advertisements. Impressions, ad views. During an advertising campaign, marketers are also interested in quantifying how many times an advertisement appears in a chosen medium, known as impressions. To calculate impressions, you need to first determine the rating of the advertisement. The rating is simply a percentage of the target audience that is reached with an advertisement. This data is often gathered by outside firms, such as Nielsen, a long-time marketing research firm. The following is the accepted impressions formula. Impressions rating times target population times number of ads run. Let's assume that one of your television advertisements ran 2 times this week. Your target audience is 1 million people. You discover that your ad has a rating of 30% or 0.30. Using the impressions formula, impressions equals 0. 30 times 1 million times 2 equals 600,000 impressions. Link to learning Nielsen. If you're going to be a marketer, you're going to need to know Nielsen Company, a global leader in audience measurement, data and analytics, shaping the future of media. 10. To better understand what the Nielsen Company is about, read this Investopedia article. Check out Nielsen's 2022 Global Annual Marketing Report about current trends. Conversion rate. A conversion rate refers to the percentage of an audience that has completed a desired action. The formula for conversion rate is conversion rate, number of converts, audience size, times 100%. For example, a web page advertisement may be attempting to get a viewer to click on the advertisement. The conversion rate, then, would be the percentage of those viewers who clicked on the advertisement. Using our example of the web page advertisement, let's assume that our audience size 500,000 and the number of converts, that is, the number of viewers who click the ad, is 100,000. Our conversion rate would be conversion rate equals 100,000 500,000 times 100% equals 0.20 or 2. 0%. While industry averages can vary, generally a conversion rate somewhere between 2% and 5% for traditional marketing, and above 10% for digital marketing is considered effective. 11. Return on ad spend, ROAS. Marketers are also often interested in calculating the return on advertising spending. Return on ad spend, ROAS, is a metric that measures the amount of revenue earned for every dollar spending on advertising. Unlike the other metrics discussed, ROAS utilizes the revenue from advertising. To calculate ROAS, you will simply divide the revenue for a given period by the advertising dollars in the period. The ROAS formula is ROAS equals revenue advertising dollars. Let's assume your company spent $1,000 on an online campaign in a given month. The revenue generated from this campaign was $5,000. Your ROAS for this campaign in this period would be $5 or a 5:1 ratio. ROAS equals 5, 0.0001, 0.000 equals 5. In other words, for every $1 spent on advertisement, Your company generated $5 in revenue. Knowledge check. It's time to check your knowledge on the concepts presented in this section. Refer to the answer key at the end of the book for feedback. One ally is a new marketer trying to determine the return on ad spend that her first marketing campaign netted. She spent $20 on a Facebook advertisement, and the ad brought in $500 of revenue. Which of the following would be the return on ad spend ROAS? 25.5, won $10,002. 52, you show your friend the Adidas logo and ask them which brand it identifies. This is an example of brand impression, brand awareness, brand recognition conversion, rate 3. Coco is trying to determine if the most recent ad she created and launched has been effective at increasing revenue. Which of the following metrics would you recommend Coco use? ROAS impressions, brand awareness, brand recognition 4. Indicators that measure the effectiveness of an advertising campaign are known as KMAs, recalls, ROIs, KPIs 5. Liam is interested in the ratings of a recent television advertisement. They are interested in calculating the impressions of this ad. Liam knows that the target population of this ad is 500,000 and the ad runs 3 times. Which information is Liam missing to calculate impressions? Converts, rating, conversion, rate, number of weeks the ad ran, marketing dashboard, measuring the impact of advertising when marketing professionals purchase advertising. They are primarily interested in who will see it. Advertising is dependent on views, as it is not direct response like search or email marketing. Therefore, marketing professionals are looking for the biggest bang for their buck. This is where cost per thousand, CPM, comes in. The M in cost per thousand represents the Latin term mil. CPM is the cost to advertise to 1,000 people. An advertisement's cost per thousand depends on a variety of factors. One such factor is how targeted an ad is to a given audience. Targetability increases the cost per thousand. Another factor is whether the media is digital or traditional. Traditional media, television, radio, print, and outdoor, have a higher CPM than digital advertising. Niche media may have higher CPM than mass media. There are some legitimate criticisms of CPM. First, an ad view does not indicate an intent to purchase. It simply means that a prospective customer saw the ad. We have no way of knowing whether the ad was persuasive or changed behavior. CPM does not allow us to track behavior. Next, ad views may be duplicative or not properly targeted, potentially wasting the impression. For example, if you see an ad for the same running shoe 3 times and you're not a runner, the brand wasted 3 impressions on you because you have no intent to purchase. Finally, ads may not run or load as intended, wasting advertising dollars on a failed impression. CPM equals campaign cost. Impressions times 1,000. Let's revisit our ice cream shop from Integrated Marketing Communications. We decided to run an advertising campaign in the local newspaper. We paid $1,000 for 2,000 impressions. What is our CPM? Last period, we acquired 15 customers from our advertising campaign with an average customer lifetime value of $50. Did our advertising campaign have a profitable result in the last period? Let's say we decide to reallocate our $1,000 advertising spend on a more targeted campaign. Do you expect that our CPM will increase or decrease? Learning outcomes. By the end of this section, you will be able to 1. Define public relations and discuss its role in the promotion mix. 2. List and describe the tools of public relations. Public relations, defined with today's ever-changing media landscape, maintaining a positive image with the public is of utmost importance. This is where public relations becomes an important tool in the promotion mix. Public relations is about creating and maintaining a favorable public image. Unlike other tools in the promotion mix, public relations is not paid for. It is earned media. The result of public relations is called publicity. There are 2 sides to public relations. The first is considered the fun side, where marketers get to share stories of all the great things an organization is doing. This helps to promote the brand's image in a positive, feel-good way. The other side of public relations is damage control. This is when something negative happens within an organization and marketers must perform crisis communication. That is, addressing issues that could negatively impact the reputation of a brand. Consider in 2017, amid the height of Black Lives Matter protests, when PepsiCo aired a commercial featuring Kendall Jenner calming an angry crowd by simply handing a police officer a can of Pepsi. 12 activists slammed Pepsi for trivializing such an important issue. Originally, Pepsi released a statement supporting its advertisement, but public backlash soon changed that position, and the company issued an apology, saying it had missed the mark with its intentions. Careers in marketing public relations. A public relations professional is someone who shares information on behalf of a company. There are various types of public relation jobs, and knowing the types of skills you should have to get the job is important. Read this article to learn about the various types of jobs and the necessary skills needed. Read this article from Harvard Business Review to gain insight into whether a job in public relations is right for you. And learn from this expert guide on how to get a job in public relations. Want to learn about what a day looks like for a public relations professional? Check out this video from a public relations professional about what a day in the life of a real-world public relations professional looks like. The role of public relations in the promotion mix in many organizations. Public relations has been an afterthought or a sidebar to marketing, something used only when a crisis has occurred. However, public relations is more important than ever as the public seeks brands that have values aligned with their own and are not hesitant to boycott those who don't. In fact, according to a 2017 survey, 86% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when deciding which companies and brands they will support. 13, for example, in the past several years, the public has become more aware and vocal about the use of Photoshop in advertisements. In fact, many celebrities have spoken out about their own photos being photoshopped in media and the unauthenticity it translates to the public. Similarly, companies such as CVS, Dove, and Target have stopped, or limited, the use of model editing to challenge unrealistic beauty standards. The tools of public relations in an age of information access and sharing, companies can no longer afford to hide behind their mistakes, nor can they afford to miss opportunities to boast about their good deeds. Marketers need to be keenly aware of how the organization's image is portrayed publicly to all interested parties. There are several tools that marketers should use to positively impact this image. While the goal of public relations and publicity is to promote positive images to the public, marketers must use public relations to minimize the impact of negative publicity as well. Consider CNN's Blackfish, which aired in 2013. The documentary shed light on the consequences of keeping orcas in captivity, forcing them to perform for sightseers at sea parks. It takes a deep dive into the lives of these captive marine mammals and how sometimes such animals can be deadly, as was witnessed at SeaWorld in 2014. 14. The results of the negative publicity created by the documentary caused SeaWorld's park attendance, as well as its market value, to drop. 15. Link to learning examples of bad publicity. Watch the Blackfish official trailer and see for yourself the message behind this documentary. And read here about the impact this negative publicity had on SeaWorld. You can find numerous examples of bad publicity on the internet. Check out this article that identifies many from companies such as EasyJet, Tinder, and Tesla. Press relations entails establishing and maintaining positive relationships with those in the media, such as newspapers and television. Press relations are controlled internally by the marketing team and often include the marketer sending press releases and other stories that help to maintain a positive image of the brand. Although press relations are controlled internally, it is up to the media whether the stories will be disseminated to the public. Consider your local news station that covers a story of a local bakery raising money for charity. The bakery owner or marketer has most likely sent the news station a press release of the upcoming event. The local news station will decide if it will or will not cover the story in its newscast. The more positive relationships the bakery team has with the local news station, the more likely it is to receive media coverage. Public affairs. Another important tool of public relations is public affairs, efforts to influence public policy and engage with public officials and trade associations. Public affairs often align with non-corporate entities, such as nonprofits and government agencies. However, for-profit organizations are becoming more and more involved in public affairs. Organizational leaders and marketers often share their economic impact with legislators to help policymakers amend or set new policies. For example, when Walmart plans to open a new store, the executives often reach out to local legislators to explain the goodwill and positive impact on the local economy. They continue conversations with local politicians to show they are good citizens of the community and help to impact local, as well as state and federal legislation. 16. Lobbying. Very similar to public affairs, lobbying involves the intention of influencing public policy and law. Lobbying is a way for companies to influence legislation in their favor. Lobbying is a large part of the political system in the United States, and many companies and industry associations contribute massive amounts of money to influence politicians. Lobbying has come under a lot of scrutiny over the years, as companies continue to grow and have larger resources to influence laws and legislation in their favor, as opposed to favoring the individual or the greater society. 17. For example, in 2020, the National Association of Realtors was the top lobbying association in the United States, followed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, and the American Hospital Association. Together, these associations spent over $200 million lobbying to impact local, state, and federal legislation. 18. Events. Organizations are increasingly sponsoring or hosting special events to show support for various causes. Such events are also a way to showcase the company, product, services, and/or brands to the public. Often, companies use special events to show the public that their values and ideals are part of their business model. For example, Kroger has sponsored and volunteered for the Susan G. Komen Central Indiana Race for a Cure for many years. With one of its division offices located in Indianapolis, Indiana, the company has been covered by media for its involvement in the local chapter of the Breast Cancer Foundation. 19. The events not only provide a much-needed community service, but also generate positive publicity for the company. Digital media, social media marketing. Social and digital media have become important tools for marketing managers, and the use of these platforms is advantageous in public relations as much as in advertising. The biggest advantages to using digital tools in public relations and publicity is that they can reach a larger audience in a short time, are fairly inexpensive in comparison to other mediums, and allow for real-time communication. The San Francisco Bat-Kid took social media by storm when the campaign was rolled out by Make-A-Wish Foundation. A boy fighting leukemia wished to be Batman, and the campaign went viral with the hashtag #SFBatman. People everywhere took time to volunteer and take part in the boy's dream. Link to learning #SFBatman. Check the #SFBatKid Twitter hashtag here to see the Bat-Kid's journey. Watch the trailer to a movie telling his story, and watch a video showcasing the public relations campaign. Knowledge check. It's time to check your knowledge on the concepts presented in this section. Refer to the answer key at the end of the book for feedback. 1. What is a promotion mix element that is earned rather than paid for? Public relations, advertising, television advertisements, web page advertisements. 2. Which of the following is a way companies attempt to influence public policy and law? Press relations, events, lobbying, publicity. 3. Mikkel does not have a lot of money for marketing his new business, but he wants to raise awareness of his company and decides to commit to handing out free water at a local 5K run. Which of the following is Mikkel participating in? Events, lobbying, press relations, public affairs. 4. As a marketer, you are responsible for creating and maintaining positive relationships with the press. Which part of public relations are you responsible for? Lobbying, publicity, public affairs, press relations. 5. As a new business owner, Michaela is attempting to sway local leaders to give the business a tax cut for the first year of operation. She invites all the local officials to a public meeting, where she presents the anticipated economic impact of her business. Michaela is engaged in which public relations tool? Press relations, public affairs, lobbying, events. Learning outcomes. By the end of this section, you will be able to 1. Discuss the advantages of public relations. 2. Discuss the disadvantages of public relations. Advantages of public relations from a business perspective. The greatest advantage to public relations is that of cost. Public relations is not a paid form of promotion. However, there are other advantages that accompany a well-thought-out public relations strategy. Increasing brand credibility, because public relations are unpaid and come from an objective source. News media, they are perceived as much more credible than paid forms of advertising. In fact, it is the most credible and persuasive form of promotion. Most consumers value the opinions of news media and opinion leaders over that of a company's best advertising. Increasing sales and leads. Another advantage of public relations is that of sales and leads. Again, because public relations is considered a more credible source of information, various tools in public relations can help to increase sales and leads for the organization. Imagine you are attending an event that is raising money for the local animal shelter because you are a huge animal advocate. You see signs that an organization unfamiliar to you is the lead sponsor. While you may never have heard of this organization, let alone considered buying from this company in the past, the fact that it is helping raising money for the local animal shelter sways your decision to do business with them. For example, let's look at Campfire Treats, which makes dog treats. This company was one of the first in its industry to embrace the Better Chicken Commitment, BCC, to ensure better treatment of chickens. 20. The company has gained industry publicity and is becoming popular with pet owners that embrace more humane animal treatment. 21. Link to learning pet food industry. Check out this pet food industry. Article to learn more about Campfire Treats and its commitment to BCC. If you're interested in learning more about the product, check out this video review from Top Dog Tips or this article from Groovy Golden Doodles. Positive brand image, because consumers are more likely to patronize organizations whose values align with their own. Public relations has the distinct opportunity to provide a positive brand image to audiences. When organizations are authentic in their own values, it translates to increased loyalty and brand equity. Cost effectiveness, as you've already learned, public relations is not a paid tool in the promotion mix. A really good brand or company story can be picked up by several media outlets, exposing the promotion to a large audience. Consider the Ice Bucket Challenge that went viral in 2015. The challenge was first promoted by Pat Quinn and Pete Frates as a way for the public to better understand how Lou Gehrig's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis ALS, affects those with the disease. The challenge raised over $115 million worldwide for the disease and was an extremely cost-effective and fun way to raise funds when it went viral on social media. 22 disadvantages of public relations. While public relations is a cost-effective way to potentially reach a large audience, it does come with its own set of challenges, including no direct control, lack of guaranteed results, and a difficulty in evaluating effectiveness. No direct control. Unlike other tools in the promotion mix, marketers have no direct control over public relations. In other words, the media controls how the organization is portrayed, when, or if, the coverage will appear and where it will be placed. This is why press relations is such an integral part of the public relations strategy. 23. Lack of guaranteed results. Proficient marketers will spend time crafting the perfect press release, curating photographs, and getting just the right message to the media. They can even have excellent relationships with media personnel, but it is ultimately the decision of the media if it will publish a story. A story that is buried deep in a newspaper's pages or a blur during a news program may not create the results marketers intended. Difficulty of evaluating effectiveness. Public relation activities can be difficult to measure. A marketer can observe media mentions and stories, but the impact they have on the audience can be difficult to determine. Other tools in the promotion mix can be targeted to the audience of interest, but public relations is not. As such, marketers should consider paying keen attention to areas such as website traffic and social media mentions or shares to determine who is seeing the press and what they are saying about it. Knowledge check. It's time to check your knowledge on the concepts presented in this section. Refer to the answer key at the end of the book for feedback. 1. After watching a TikTok, you learn that Thinks, a company that produces period underwear, has donated over $25,000 in period and other products to Afghan women who have recently fled their country. Because of this, you decide to purchase Thinks products. Which advantage of public relations has been achieved in this scenario? Increased sales and leads, lack of direct control, guaranteed results direct control too. Public relations has all the following advantages except increased brand credibility, increased brand image, direct control, increased sales, and leads 3. When Storyland, a children's museum in New Hampshire, reopened, it utilized public relations. Numerous local television stations picked up and reported the story, providing free marketing to potential customers. The company bet on the positive virality of its press release, which worked in its favor. Which of the following disadvantages explains why Storyland bet on the positive virality? No direct control, increased brand recognition, increased sales, guarantee of results 4. Which of the following is a true statement concerning public relations? Public relations is more expensive than advertising. Public relations has more of a guarantee of positive results than other forms of promotion. Public relations has the most message control of the various forms of promotion. Public relations is free, but has no guarantee of results. 5. When Taco Bell was hit with a lawsuit that claimed its seasoned beef was only 35% beef, the company utilized social media to show its ingredients, a campaign that was wildly successful. Which of the following was Taco Bell hoping for? Guaranteed results, improved brand image, direct control of the message, increased sales, and leads. Learning outcomes. By the end of this section, you will be able to 1. Illustrate ethical issues with respect to advertising. 2. Illustrate ethical issues with respect to public relations. Ethical issues related to advertising. Marketers must be keenly aware of not only the legal implications of advertising, but also the ethical ramifications. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, has a number of laws that help to protect consumers against false claims in advertisements. The watchdog group Truth in Advertising is an independent, nonprofit organization that empowers consumers to protect themselves and one another against false advertising and deceptive marketing. 24. Truth in Advertising. Every year, Americans spend billions of dollars on health-related products, such as supplements, exercise programs, and non-prescription medication. Unfortunately, many of the advertisements claim that these, and many other, products will perform in a way that has not been proven. Not only can such claims be very harmful to individuals, but they can also get companies in big trouble. In 2021, Subway was put in the spotlight by its own franchisees for its Eat Fresh slogan. The franchisees claimed that the slogan was misleading and that Subway's ingredients were often days or weeks old when they arrived at the stores, and that the meat was laden with chemicals. 25. Advertising to children. Marketers must be keenly aware of how they advertise to children. Children are exposed to advertising just as often as adults. It is estimated that children view more than 40,000 commercials per year. 26. However, children and youth do not understand how to decipher those advertisements that are trying to get them to want something. For products that are harmful to, not meant for, or illegal to sell to children, marketers need to steer clear of advertising to children. The vape company Juul found itself in hot water in 2019 when it was accused of marketing to teens. The company advertised its product, intended for adults only, on websites such as Nickelodeon, the Cartoon Network, and 17, all sites directed toward youth. 27. Advertising harmful products. When organizations run advertisements for potentially harmful products, they can be held legally liable for the claims and for any harm caused by the product. Even if the company is not held legally liable, the reputation of the business can be damaged. 28. Have you ever noticed in a prescription drug commercial, there is considerable time spent on the side effects of the medication, or that at the bottom of the screen there is a disclosure that the actor is not an actual patient? These are all required by the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, FFDCA, the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and the FTC to adhere to truth in advertising expectations. Ethical issues related to public relations. Similar to being truthful in advertising, Marketers must also be aware of how they are disseminating information via public relations. Again, with the increase in social media and the internet in general, it is much easier for consumers to find information regarding companies. In addition, it is much more commonplace for consumers to call out companies that are being unethical or dishonest. It is much easier for organizations to be honest and transparent up front than try to dig themselves out of a public relations nightmare. Link to learning. IKEA. The start of the COVID-19 pandemic required the entire world to shift its perspective. This was true for marketers as well. Many companies changed their marketing strategies from selling goods and services to creating feelings of goodwill and solidarity. IKEA, the Swedish furniture manufacturer, was no exception. In a marketing campaign launched early in the pandemic, the company offered 6 ways to build a furniture fort, giving the public ways to cope with being quarantined. The campaign earned a nod in Adweek's most notable advertisements. 29 read more about the campaign and see the forts here. Transparency. An important part of managing public relations is to disseminate information to the public. It can be a very effective way of gaining loyalty and interest in the brand. The more transparent a company is to its target market, the more trust consumers have in the brand. Whole Foods, known for offering natural foods, faced scrutiny over its mislabeling of genetically engineered foods. The company's top priority became that of transparency, and it requires every product sold as non-GMO to go through a verification process. 30. Selective truth-telling. Selective truth-telling is a practice in which a person or organization tells a portion of the truth, but omits other portions of the truth. Particularly in the face of scrutiny, marketers have always had to decide how much of the truth should be provided in order to satisfy the public, but also protect the organization. In more recent years, many organizations have been increasingly telling the whole truth up front to avoid being called out later. Verifying facts and information. Fact-checking in a process to verify facts on an issue. Marketers must do their best to present information that is valid to their target. This should be done before the information gets released to the public. In a society of fake news, consumers are more skeptical than ever when it comes to information. Obviously, presenting information that is not factual will lead to decreased trust from the public. Companies with a conscience. TOMS. In 2006, Blake Mycoskie founded TOMS Shoes, see Figure 14. 6, the name of which comes from the word tomorrow. TOMS is committed to its one-for-one model. For every item purchased, an item is donated to those in need. 31 Since its inception, TOMS has also committed 1/3 of its profits to grassroots movements. 32. A photo of 3 pairs of feet wearing TOMS shoes. The feet are positioned so they form a circle. One person is wearing TOMS with a striped pattern, another person is wearing plaid pattern TOMS, and the last person is wearing solid black TOMS. Figure 14. 6 TOMS is an example of a company that built a company, product, and mission focused on giving. Credit Spring by Multiply/Flickr, CC by 20. TOMS remains transparent, and the company's behavior is aligned with its values. In every advertising campaign launched, TOMS, philanthropic mission is consistently reinforced to the public. As a result, it's nearly impossible for anyone to think of TOMS as anything but aligned completely with its mission, whether one is visiting the company's website, viewing print media, or looking at the company's social media. 33.